Yes, a very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome to the CA Final Auditing Fastrack AI Batch. Right, so as the name of your subject is called as Advanced Auditing Assurance and the Professional Ethics, 100 marks theory subject, right, in your CA Final curriculum. I know you would have had lot of bittersweet experiences of audit and at CA Inter, lot of learning lessons also, but now we need to begin our journey for the CA Final Audit. Okay, right, so first question which might be coming in your mind that, is this batch meant for me? Right, so probably I can divide the category of students into two types. One, those who have not yet started studying the subject of audit, and second, who have studied the subject of audit but they need a brush up. Right, so for which students is this batch meant for? It is meant for both set of these students. It is meant for all students, because if you've not yet studied the subject, it gives you an outline, regarding what is there in the subject. It gives you the right direction. It gives you the programming regarding how you need to approach the subject. So otherwise, if you start studying the subject on your own, you'll find it very confusing. You'll go for different permutation, combination, trial and error approach. So rather than committing all those mistakes, you have a structured format of how you need to prepare for the subject, and also it will help you boost your confidence for the subject. So this is for those students who have not yet studied audit at all. And second are those students who've studied, but they say, ma'am, we require revision, we want to gain more confidence, we want to identify which areas which are going wrong. Right, so certainly it is very beneficial for those students also, because it's like a hand-holding exercise. Rather than you studying on your own, that there is a class there is a class which is there to guide you for the subject. Okay, right, so that is one for which set of students. Okay, second, then do I need the material? Like, I'll be using the edition 3 of the CA Final Audit book, in which we have the module 1, module 2, which has the 19 chapters, and module 3, which is the MCQ. Right, so whether I require the book for attending this particular class or this particular lectures, right, so one, along with the lecture, the serial key that you take for this particular batch, you get the encrypted PDF of the book, right? So the encrypted PDF is anyways there with you. But then students, we generally say that physical book is more better for us, but I already have another author book. Or rarely students say that I want to study from institute study material, or ma'am, I have an earlier edition of your book, or I'm yet to decide whether I should buy the book or not. So that decision you can take lately, right? So once you get a few days or few hours into the batch, you will realize whether the existing material is suffice, whichever other author book you have, is it enough, or is your work being done only by the encrypted PDF, or you have an earlier edition of the book, whether that works for you, or you ultimately decide that no ma'am, I think I should buy the book. So then you can separately place an order for the same, right? So don't be in a rush and buy the book immediately or something and just collect too much of stationery with you and accumulate too much of the books, right? So take it, take it as it comes. That was what would be my suggestion. Okay, so we have a lot of technology partners who are there supporting us in the recording of this particular video, right? We have the Antargyan team and also the Focus Pixel. So whatever AI or whatever animation and all you see in the videos, the entire credit for that goes to their hard work. For me, my part is only to do the recording and the content part of the lectures. Okay, right? So with that, I think without any further ado, let's begin with our discussion of the subject. Right, so mainly if we look at audit at the CA final level, we can divide the subject mainly under 3 parts. Right, CA final audit, mainly the subject, we can divide it under 3 parts. Part A, which is going to be professional ethics and the liabilities of the auditor. Right, so I think probably let me start writing down this part. Right, so if I talk about the CA final audit, I said that our subject can be divided under the three parts, right? We have the part A, right? Then the part B, and then after that the part C, right? In the part A of the subject, we talk about the professional ethics and the liabilities of the auditor, right? Obviously, if you would have taken any advice from your seniors, they would have certainly told you that one of the most scoring chapter in CA Final Audit, the game changer subject chapter in audit, is the chapter number 19 on the professional ethics and the liabilities of the auditor. What is the weightage of this particular topics? On an average 15 marks. On the lower side, like sometimes they ask less, it could go to 12. On the higher side, it sometimes even reaches 20 marks. But if I say on an average, it is 15 marks of the ethics chapter which is asked in your exams, right? So generally in the theory part of the paper, we see 3 questions of 4 or 5 mark each, right? So around 12 to 13 marks over there. And then apart from that, we see 1 or 2 questions in the MCQ, right? So that is another 2 to 3 marks, right? So is that clear? Around 15 marks of ethics, that is the weightage of this particular chapter. Okay, then talking about the part B, wherein we talk about the engagement and the quality control standards, right? The EQCS, which have been issued by the Auditing and Assurance Standard Board of the ICAI. And how many engagement and quality control standards do we have? 46. Right? Under this 46, we have the standards on auditing, then we have the standards on review engagement, standards on assurance engagement, standards on related services, and the standard on the quality control. Right? So SA, we have 38 standards on auditing, standards on review engagement 2, assurance engagement we have 3, related services 2, and quality control there is 1 standard. Right? So bringing that total to 46. Right? Up to May 19, all these 46 standards used to be applicable for the exams. But then from November 19 onwards, they said that no, this SRE, SAE, SRS 800 series of auditing standard not applicable. Then again in May 24, they came up with no. That these standards would be applicable for the exam, right? So they were applicable, then they went on a holiday, and now again applicable. So relatively right now, we are seeing in the exams that more questions are coming, like SRE ka at least 1 question, SAE out of the 3 at least 1 question, SRS at least 1 question. In the SA 800 series, 800, 805 and 810, right? Again, at least 1 or 2 questions coming over there, right? So out of the 46 standards also, these 10 standards are having more importance right now in your exam preparation. And obviously, do we have other important standards like SA 240, which is regarding fraud, SA 570, which is going concern, 505, which is external confirmation? Yeah, certainly those other standards are all other standards. Whichever is asked in exam, that is important, right? But yeah, relatively, these 10 standards are more important. If I would like to make down a list of those 10 standards, I told you it is SA 800, 805, 810, right, which is there in our chapter number 8. Then the SRE, Standard on Review Engagement 2400, 2410, which is there in the chapter number 9 in our notes, right? Then the SAE, right, 3400, 3402 and the 3420, which is the chapter number 10. And then we have the SRS, right, 4400, 4410, which is there in the chapter number 11. Right, so as we have the 2 modules of the book, the module 1 and the module 2. In the module 1, we have this 46 engagement and quality control standards. Right, so 8, 9, 10, 11 is these 10 standards. Apart from that, we have a chapter number 3, which is regarding the risk assessment and the internal control. And chapter number 7 is divided under 7A and 7B. 7A is the 700 series and 7B is is the reporting under the Companies Act, wherein we also have the discussion regarding the 21 clauses of the CARO, right? CARO 2020, right? So this is the content of the module 1, the 46 standards, the risk assessment, internal control, and the CARO 20, right? So in module 1, we have chapter number 1 to 11. And then in module 2, we have the chapter number 12 to 19. And what is there in this 12 to 19? We have all the special audits. What are the special audits? We have like the digital auditing assurance. Then we have the group audit. Right? Then after group audit, we have the bank audit, the NBFC audit. Then after that, the public sector undertaking audit. Then the internal audit. Then we have a separate discussion regarding due diligence, investigations, and the forensic accounting. Right? So da, ga, ba, na, pa, fa, but yeah. It's digital auditing assurance, group audit, bank audit, NBFC audit, PSU audit, internal audit, due diligence, investigation, forensic accounting. Then you have the ESG and the SDG assurance, right? So that's emerging areas. And chapter number 19 is regarding the professional ethics and the liabilities of the auditor, right? So that is what is there in the module 2, right? So coming back, to our discussion of the 3 parts of the syllabus, right? So part 1 is regarding the professional ethics. Part B is regarding the engagement and quality control standards, which will also cover risk assessment, internal control, CARO. And then part C is this other chapters, right? Part C is this other chapters. What do you mean by other chapters? It is chapter number 12 to 18, because chapter number 19 is already covered in part 1, part A, right? So chapter number 12 to 18 gets covered in the part C. Right, so when I am recording this particular classes, what I am going to do is I am going to first record the entire part A, which is regarding the ethics. Then the entire part B, which is regarding the module 1, the engagement and quality control standards, the CARO, risk assessment, internal control. And then I will be recording the part C, which is regarding the other chapters. Right, so now you have to, when you're starting with these lectures, obviously a timesheet is provided to you. Okay, which lecture ethics is being discussed, which lecture, which standard is being discussed, then which lecture where group audit is being discussed, NBFC audit is being discussed. So depending upon, which areas are you lacking or which areas you find it challenging, I would want you to start watching the videos from there. Like, you've already written an exam or you're just starting with audit, and then you say, oh my God, this bank audit, NBFC, if I keep it for the end, I will end up not studying it. So let me start with the other chapters, and then after that, let me do ethics and then come to the standards. Or you say, my standard preparation was not good. So let me first go into the world of the standards, then do the ethics, and then come to the other chapters. Or the third possibility that you say, oh, ethics is something which is new, nothing of much of ethics covered in CA Inter. So you might say, let me start with ethics and then go to the other chapters or the standards, right? So whichever, but this is the outline, right? So ethics weightage is around 15 marks. Standard weightage is on an average 50 marks in your exam. And obviously the balancing figure 35 marks comes for the other chapters. Obviously all this is estimate, that the only thing that is predictable about ICAI is that it is unpredictable. Okay, can it happen, ma'am, in my attempt only 35 marks standard came, or ma'am, my attempt to 60 marks they ask auditing standard. It's like no surprise, like we have been having so many surprises that a surprise does not feel like a surprise now. Can it happen that bank audit, ma'am, in our exams they asked 12 marks, or PSU, ma'am, in my exams they asked 2 questions on PSU. In MCQ also there were 2 questions regarding PSU. Be ready for surprises, right? So this is just based on what is seen. Yeah, by the way, you might be, yes, I forgot to introduce myself. I am CA Aarti Lahoti. I qualified my CA exams I wrote my exams in November 2008, and Jan 2009 I qualified, 16 Jan 2009, and then I finished my articleship in Deloitte on 31st of August 2009, right? So 31st of July 2009, right? So 2006 to 2009, 3 years of articleship, and then after that, since September 2009, I have been teaching the subject of audit at CA Inter and at CA Final level. I've also trying my hands at teaching strategic management at CA Inter, and also CMA for the CMA, the paper 17, which is regarding the cost and management audit, right? So teaching is my passion. I am very, very passionate. I really love my job from the bottom of my heart. It might be like, oh ma'am, like you might have taught essay 200 times or maybe 400 times. But every time when I see a new set of students, or when the time comes for the new recording, it's always like a fresh flower blooming in the garden for me, right? So thank you for selecting me and providing me this opportunity to share my knowledge of the subject with you. Okay, begin with our discussion of the subject, but at the onset, first let's have a brief idea about the book from which I will be teaching, or I'll be referring to, mainly because the Fastrack batch, we don't have the luxury of time to go through the detailed content of the book. But yeah, as a reference, as I've already mentioned, not necessary that you need to have this book with you, but yeah, just to give you a glimpse about the book, right? So our book is mainly divided under the module 1, module 2 and the module 3. The module 3 is regarding the MCQs, right? So 1300 plus MCQs, concept wise, integrated case study, chapter wise, clause wise, in terms of Caro, standard wise, all possible MCQs which are available for your practice have been integrated into this one book, all put together. Like we have in the chapter number 1 some 50 plus integrated case studies, right? So it's like a good amount of practice for you to prepare for your audit and get a good score in the MCQ part of the paper also, right? We are also in the process of putting all these MCQs on the app, on a browser based also, so you will be able to access it at aartilahoti.com as well as magnetca.com, right? So that you can check it as you're watching the lectures, whether they've already been uploaded over there or so. Right, now coming to the module 1 and the module 2. As I said, in the module 1 we have the standards, risk assessment and Caro, and module 2 we have the chapter number 12 to 19, right? So it comes to around, the module 1 is 329 pages and the module 2 is 368 pages, right? So bringing the book to like module 1 plus module 2 to 697 pages. So I think let's do a rounding up to 700 pages. So now you would be like, oh my god, 700 pages, itna hai audit mein, and plus the MCQ book is 364 pages, so total number of pages is coming to 1061. So around 1000 odd pages you need to study for audit. So why did, ma'am, how come did the book size become 700 pages? The reason why the book size has become 700 pages is because there are 859 question and answers included in your book. Right, and 859, it's like, they are non-recurring, they are not repetitive. If one question is come in 4 RTPs or 4 suggested, that is counted as one question. So you have 859 different varieties of question and answer. Just to give you a glimpse in ethics, in ethics chapter number 19 itself, we have 211 questions. In that 211 questions, if you come to clause 11, we are having around 21 questions only for the clause 11, right? If you come to bank audit chapter, you have 45 questions in the bank audit chapter, right? So that's, huge amount. So you have the concept. I always say that this book is an SRS. It's a 3-in-1. SRS standing for study, revise and scanner, right? So if you want to study the theory of the book, you only go to the content part of the book, you're sorted. You want to revise it again and again because audit requires cumulative revision. So then you read only the red words, the highlighted words, it works as a revision for you. And if you want to see, okay, oh, this is the topic that I have studied, but how is the examiner going to check me? What type of questions are going to come in the exam? So for that, we have the scanner, we have the question bank. Right? So that is why, like you know a topic, but then immediately you also need to know, okay, how the questions for this topic are asked in the exam. Like I say 570, we have some 17, 18 questions over there. Essay 240, we have like 10 questions over there. Like Essay 620, Auditor's Expert, again a huge number of questions. And you see, that the study material applicable for May 25 exam onwards, they say in many chapters that practice questions have been added at the end of the chapter. So it's nothing but the MTP, RTP suggested of the May 24 and November 24, which they've incorporated, right? So that's already been there. When I checked in the edition 3 of the book that, all these new questions ICA has added as practice question, I need to add them. I saw that all of them are already there in our book. Right? So that is the reason. So, if you remove this 898 questions, you remove those particular questions, then almost 300 pages of the book will become less. So it's 350 pages of the theory and 300 pages of the question and answer. Right? So it's the way you look at it. Like, you say, oh, I need a separate book for studying the concepts and then a separate book for the question bank. Yeah. Or it's like you have a one-stop solution for the entire subject of audit. Then this is how it would work. Right? So let me just give you a glimpse of the book, right? So this is the module 1, right? So that's the cover page of the 3rd edition of the book. Every time they design a new cover page, okay, right? And then you see the module 1, which is chapter 0, or chapter 0 is my own innovation, wherein we've put the list of the 46 engagement and quality control standards and the list of the important terms and abbreviations used. And then you have the SQC1 series, right? 200, then risk assessment, internal control, then 300, 400. Then look at the coincidence. Chapter 5, 500 series. That is 500 to 580. Chapter 6, 600 series. Then 7A is the 700. 7B is the Caro. And then you have the chapter number 8, 9, 10, 11. And then module 2, we have the chapter number 12 to 19. Right? So chapter 19 itself is of 121 pages. Because I told you, 211 questions are there in this one particular chapter itself. Right? So bank audit, we have like the 39 pages, and next 19 pages is 14B, which is the audit of the NBFCs. Right? So this is the glimpse of the book, like how is the layout, what is the colors, and how does the book look like. Right? So this is the book for you. Right? So these is the list of the standards, then the important abbreviations and all the terms, which you would have mainly studied in inter-audit. A quick revision of all those terms. Right, so that is the chapter 0, and then this is the chapter 1, wherein you have the SQC. Right, so it's integrated with the study material. So, I've taken the base of the standard, the study material of ICAI, all of it has been put together. Right, so it starts with an introduction to audit quality. That's an introduction to the chapter. Then SQC1, each standard has an objective. So what is the objective of this particular standard? To which firms is the standard applicable? What are the elements of the quality control system? It's LEHEM. And then talking about each of the element of the quality control system. Right? So that's the completion of the SQC. Then there is a discussion regarding what is the difference between SQC1 and SA220, because SQC1 is for the entire firm, whereas SA220 is for a particular audit. Then they've given a small reference regarding 3 boards, 3 authorities over there: the peer review board, the quality review board, and the NAFRA, that is the National Financial Reporting Authority. So this covers, if I look at these 7 pages, it covers the theory part of the book. Then you see in the institute study material, they've put these, practical based questions and then theory based question. Right? So here you see the TYU and then the TYK. So test your understanding and then test your knowledge. Right? So test your understanding, we have the Yes, 8 questions over there. And then test your knowledge. We have the, if that's a direct content from the chapter which is to be written, I've just given a reference to further, stop increasing the number of pages. And when there is any additional point required to be written, those have been mentioned over here. It's such a big question. So, the stories of ICAI you have to read in your exams. And you see when this question was asked, May 24, it was asked for 5 marks, right? You see the marks and which attempt it was asked. If a question is asked in the RTP, it's also written over there that it's asked in May 19. And then say this particular question, there is nothing written in front of it. So that means either it is an MTP question, because I said why unnecessarily increase the references? Doesn't matter. Okay, where it is and what it is, it matters. Where it is doesn't matter. And so then if you see any such question, either it is from the study material or it is from the MTP. Not any RTP suggested, and then you get to read all the varieties. So 10, right? So 7 pages of the theory and 6 pages of the question bank, right? So that's 13 pages. So if you see 700 pages of the book, that's what I told you, around 300 pages would be going into the 350 pages would be going into the theory, and another 350 could come into the question bank, like on an average, right? So many students are very inquisitive about the book. So I thought at the onset, before I start with the discussion, let me give you an outline. So this is like chapter 2, which has the entire 200 series. So in the beginning, I've again mentioned the entire 200 series. Then the discussion on all the standards in the 200 series. After the discussion, again same format. You see all the test your understanding question. And after the TYU questions for the 200 series, you see the test your knowledge. So test your knowledge for 200. Then test your knowledge for 210. Test your knowledge for 220. Right? So 220, oh my God. Historical question to latest question. All possible questions of ICAI without any sort of elimination have been incorporated over here. Right, so again, if you look into this particular book, right, if you see the 200 series, the discussion is for 30 pages, right? So 200, 210, 220, 230, 240, 250, 260, 265, 299. So that's like the 9 standards over there. The discussion is covered in like 30 pages. And then after the 30 pages, right, then if I come to the question bank, right, then if I come to the question bank, it is 49. Right, so 19 pages of the question bank over there, right? 19 pages of the question bank over there, right? So I hope you have got the required understanding regarding the format of the book.